Hi everyone, it's good to see you once again. I really do appreciate all the support and love you guys are giving me. Couldn't have done it without you. Guess what? Today we are here with the episode 3 and we are talking about the art of saying no. I'm just gonna run you through what we have for you today. But before that, don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, and share. My name is Miss Anne and I'm always gonna be your host. Get that? Okay, so today's event we have 3 sections, and then under each section is like a special moment form of discussion, not your regular interview where we just ask the questions and then you answer. That is a past tense. Okay, so today for the first section it's just going to be 2 panelists on board throughout anyway, and then I will make a statement, okay, and then whoever wants to go first, the one that goes first will say a yes or a no. And after the person says yes or no, they have like 10 seconds to defend their point. And the other person also has the chance of, adding their voice to it within 10 seconds as well. So they're like just a couple of statements, a brief one, and it's going to be like pretty short for the section 1. And once we are done with section 1, we go to the section 2, which is more of like a blend of a chit chat and a debate. Okay, so there are some statements where they voice out their opinions about the statement, whatever they think about it. No one's opinion hears, and you can also add your voice in the comment section. It could be different from what they say here, it could be the same. Whatever you side with is up to you. But under that comes the debate, where there are 2 vignettes. I'm going to tell you a story. There are 2 different stories, and then they are going to let us know where they stand for, like whether they think the person is just being unnecessarily emotional, and acting weird instead of working on themselves, or probably the person is just setting boundaries and society is just not seeing it. Well, let's see what each one will say and how they go about, the entire stand or theme that they have for us pertaining to the story that I give. Then after that, we ended with a very kind of like teacher chat discussion on some few topics under the art of saying no. Yes, so don't forget that you are part of it. We are not doing it alone, we are doing it with you. All we need is add your comments and let us know what you also think. Here is the Unfiltered Mic. We give out authentic information, but in as much as you are being yourself and voicing out, try as much as possible to respect other people, because that is what we promote here. Be you and be respectful. Very important, very important. So without wasting much time, let's dive right into it. Come on, let's go. See you guys. All right, guys, welcome back to the episode 3. And before we start, we're going to introduce who we have here. On my right, we have
Bridget from Ghana. I'm a grad student at the University of Alabama, studying biology.
Biology, University of Ghana, is what you said?
Alabama.
All right, thank you. No, that's okay. That's okay. I heard University of Ghana. Anyway, and on my left, we have
Tony from San Francisco, recent graduate with a master's in clinical psychology.
Perfect. Okay, and here in the middle, we have Miss Anne right here, always with you each day. And I hope you don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. So getting straight into the first part, I'm just going to make my statement and we see who goes first and how the person answers, and then we see if the opponent agrees or not. Are you ready, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you ready? All right, so the first statement, it says, say no is selfish. Yes or no?
No.
10
I think
seconds.
it's selfish because you're not always going to be available to try to impress everyone. So if I can.
Thank you. I think you got her point, Tony. What do you have to say about that in 10 seconds?
I say I agree, because sometimes you've made a previous commitment, and so you can't possibly honor 2 commitments at once. So you might have to say no to that second commitment.
Thank you. That was interesting. Anyway, we'll leave the rest of the viewers to also add their voices. And then the next statement, it says, you owe people an explanation whenever you decline. True or false?
True.
Okay, 10 seconds.
When the person that you're saying no to is someone that's close to you, someone that you care about, someone that you have a relationship with, I believe that deserves an explanation.
Okay,
I will also say it depends on the situation. It depends on who it is. So yeah.
All right. Interesting. Depends on
Not
who it
really.
is. Well, I see that's being selective. All right. So the next statement, it says most people don't respect soft boundaries. Yes or no?
Yes, I think most people don't respect soft boundaries. They just take it for granted, want you to be always available, and like taking whatever they, they throw at you.
Thank you, Bridget. And do you have anything to say to that?
I agree that if you don't present a strong hard boundary, people may not respect it.
Thank you. So we have the next one that also says saying yes keeps the peace. Yes or no? Okay.
I think it does keep the peace, but sometimes maybe the peace deserves to be disturbed.
Okay. Bridget, you have anything to say to that?
No, I agree with him. Yeah.
You agree with him. That's
Yes.
it. Well, she agrees with him. Do you also agree with what he says? I don't fully agree to it, but we'll come back to that later. And that brings us to the end of the first section. Let's dive into the second section. All right, welcome to the second part of this movement of the art of saying no. And it's a little bit of a blend of a chit chat and a debate. And we have three statements here, which we're going to discuss. Our panel is going to tell us what they think about the statements. And the first one is more of a question anyway. The first one says, can saying yes too often be a form of self-betrayal? Saying yes all the time, could it be like a self-betrayal?
I think yes, I think so.
Mhm.
Because if you need to say no and you're always saying yes, you are doing it at your own expense, at your own pace. And at the end of the day, you are going to have to pay for it. Or when you now start saying no, whoever you've been saying yes to would now be like, okay, why are you saying no now? So they would always be expecting you to say yes. So when you should be saying yes or when you should be saying no, just stick to saying no and don't try to impress anyone. Yeah.
Okay, so I think I like the point you made, but I want you to highlight a little bit about paying for it. How do you pay for it? I don't really get it.
So, like I mentioned, you're trying to impress the person or trying to keep the person close to you. And so when a day comes for you to say no, and the person might not take it like cool. And so you would end up losing that connection or relationship that you've been trying very hard to keep by saying yes. That's my point.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Tony, do you have anything to say to that?
Yeah, certainly in a dynamic with someone where you are the one often saying yes in order to like meet the other person's needs, if they are not reciprocating that by saying yes to maybe meet your needs, then that can really weigh heavily on the person who's always saying yes, and indeed they will pay for it. That being said, if this is a kind of relationship with someone or perhaps among a group of people where everyone simply is comfortable helping each other out, and so it seems that everyone's just kind of saying yes all the time, but there's an understanding that when you help me or when I help you, you help me, then that's certainly okay.
So it's a must that if someone says yes to you, you also have to say yes to the person.
That would, not necessarily that you have to, but that would promote the well-being of that relationship.
Are you trying to say, so it has to be mutual, like you saying yes has to be mutual for it to not be a form of self-betrayal?
Ideally, it is mutual, yeah.
Interesting. Guys, do you all think it has to be mutual? I think that's a question to actually reflect on. So the next one that says, is a no without explanation a power move or just rude? A no without explanation. Is it you being rude or just a power move? Which is which?
I would say I cannot pick sides with this one. It could be either a power move or you being rude, but it depends on the tone that you use. For it to be a power move, it means that you are trying to emphasize the boundary that you are trying to create or trying to let people know that, okay, this is what I can do and this is what I can do. So that is when the power move would come in. But for it to be rude, yeah, like, oh, okay, could you please get me a cup of water? And you're like, no, I can't. And you're gone. That would be considered rude.
Ask me that.
Can you get me a cup of water?
See, rude.
That was really rude.
That was really rude.
So,
Okay.
yeah. it depends on the situation and the tone in which it's being said. Yeah.
Okay. So meaning sometimes you could be right by saying no, but the tonation is what makes it rude. Not that your no is actually wrong in that situation,
The
right?
tone and also the circumstance in which you are saying the no. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But for power move, yeah, you are stressing on the boundaries, or what you can do within your capabilities. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have anything to say? It's like a thin line between a power move and then being rude.
I think it's actually like a pretty defined line. I think, right, if the tone is proper, if someone is aware of the circumstances in which they are saying the no, then I think it's very clear for the recipient of the no to understand whether that's a legitimate no or someone just being rude.
Okay, guys. Thank you for that. And then the last one is, it says boundaries or emotional walls. Where is the line? Boundaries or emotional walls. Where is the line? What do you have to say to that?
I think there's a huge line. Not huge, but it's not a fine line separating boundaries and
bold
emotional
point.
wall. Because I think for boundaries, if you are setting boundaries, you state it out. You would, if you really want people to take you serious, you state that boundary. It's like, hey, don't call me at 10 p.m. I only work from 9 to 5, and I'll only respond to your emails between or within those hours. Yes. So you are clearly stating your boundaries. But for emotional, you being setting an emotional wall, yeah, that is also a bit different. So for the emotional wall, I would say you don't want to be sharing things, personal things, or you don't want people to see you being angry or you being excited. So I think it's
Different.
different. They are both different. Yeah.
Okay. Tony?
Yeah, that statement made me think about when someone has gone through an immense emotional pain or trauma, where maybe they are asked by a friend or a coworker or a family member to share about that, because maybe this other person kind of senses that maybe like something about maybe their facial expression is showing that they're not like having a good time. But then when that person asks you to open up and you're not really ready to do so because that pain is still raw, there's that emotional wall there, then having to set that boundary of, I don't want to talk about this because it's going to bring up too many negative emotions. I don't want to deal with this right now. I guess that's like a personal decision that someone would have to make in the moment. Of course, there are times where maybe someone may feel coerced into sharing even when they're not ready to share. And that's a different conversation.
Okay, so I think at the end of it all, it's about how you feel about your decision right now. That would determine whether it's a boundary or it's just an emotional wall, right?
Yeah, an emotional wall can also become a boundary. Like, hey, I don't want to talk about that now. So you would expect the other person who is trying to coerce you into talking about it, like you establish that boundary, let them know that, hey, no, you are trying to cross this boundary and I don't really like it. Yeah.
That is a good point there, girl. All right, so now we have our two stories, and this time you guys are going to like debate. You're taking a side as usual, and this we have two. It looks like you guys are ready to fight. Okay, so the first story is John is known as the team peacemaker. He rarely challenges decisions in meetings, even when he disagrees. When co-workers ask him for input, he often replies, whatever works best for everyone. Lately, he's been quietly skipping post-meeting hangouts and avoids group chats. He says he needs space to think, but hasn't shared more. He's still polite and gets his work done. Now, the first part, which is that of Tony, what you're standing in for, is John setting boundaries to preserve his mental space and avoid conflict fatigue. And then the next part, which is for Bridget, is or has he built an emotional wall that's shutting out collaboration and connection? Okay, so who want to start?
I'm happy to share my
Share the motion.
side first,
Okay, let's go.
where it does seem that he has a lot of his own ideas, but he doesn't want to disrupt anything. He doesn't want to create any tension, even if it may be good tension. He does not want to disrupt it. And as he is the team peacemaker, he enjoys like a nice, calm work environment. But then when maybe he feels pressed to offer his input, he may not be ready to offer his input because he may be worried about the consequences of sharing his own input, and he puts up that boundary of not going to those meetings. I think that's, from John's perspective, a reasonable thing to do, just because he should not feel pressured to do things that he does not want to do, especially when he may feel that conflict is arising.
Well, I think he is setting up an emotional wall, and it's preventing him from really connecting with his team. And I think that would also affect how he tries to make peace again, because it will weigh down on his title as a peacemaker. Because if there is an issue, I think he should be able to really communicate that, well, this is how I feel right now. But it also comes down to saying it in let me say, a nicer way, so that the team wouldn't feel like he's being rude or just like being too blatant. So I think he's putting an emotional wall. He needs to just state his emotional where he stands, and also that would build into like setting the boundaries. Yeah, not so setting boundaries instead of putting up the wall and trying to disconnect from people. Yeah.
To me, it does seem that John is worried about coming off as rude. He may not know how to like change up the way that he present his input. So that's why he's simply resorting to abstaining from this sort of workplace.
I would think he's being overly quiet if I'm his team member. His teammate or team member. Yeah, I would say he's being overly quiet. Because yeah, if you're trying to disconnect, you no longer hang out. Like, it's not like you have it's genuine excuse, but then you're always not hanging out with the team after your meetings. You always want space to think, and it seems like he doesn't really share what his thoughts are after that. Wanting space to think. So I would say he still needs to talk about it.
If I know John, I think he has a lot going on outside of work that he's putting more effort and energy and focus into. I think it's about John also preserving the line between his personal life and his professional life.
I do have a question for you too. So, with you, I think he almost answered that question. I'm like, so far as he's doing his work right, and then whatever way he's acting right now is not affecting his output, should that be a problem? Is it that the people are just interested in his personal life, which is actually not necessary? And then to you, Tony, don't you think how he's acting right now is affecting like his, should I say, teamwork? Because I think you need that connection to work as a team member to improve, help with output of work, blah blah.
That is my point, because you need that relationship. Like, you need to connect with your team to be able to like do some work. You don't want. So I think what John is doing is going to lead to some form of tension between like within or among the team members. So although he may be like performing his duties well, like I mentioned in my previous inputs, it's going to weigh down on his title as a peacemaker, because you sometimes you need to go a little into the emotions in order to connect with people, in order to make that peace that people really want. So there should be a little touch of the emotion, not closing it completely off, which is what John is doing at the moment.
I hear what you're saying, But I will say it seems that John's priority is not, like, John is not necessarily prioritizing his work life. He may be content with with like the status of his work life currently, where he's the peacemaker. He's not looking to offer his input. In a scenario where maybe he would want to get a promotion, he would want to work his way up the corporate ladder, if you will, through the company, then perhaps what he is doing would go against that goal. But if his goal is simply to just work and sort of just pay the bills, and where if his priorities are lying outside of his professional life, then I believe that what he is doing is perfectly okay.
Yeah, so I think he should, rather than closing off emotionally, he should state what he can talk about, what he can handle, or what he can speak on, rather than being closed off. Like, hey, everyone wants to see you smile sometimes, or like share a little joke sometimes. So in order to keep the team spirit, because you don't want to go into a meeting all serious, like you can't even smile. Like, no, nobody
So,
wants that.
Bridget, who do you expect him to talk to at the workplace?
Who would he talk to? I think if he's open enough, which he is not, obviously, he should be talking to a teammate, or find a teammate who he shares certain values or morals with, or someone he feels a little bit connected to. Yeah.
And Tony, do you think sharing some personal life sometimes at work, I mean, with a workmate, is worth it?
I guess it just depends on John's comfort level with that. It seems that maybe he doesn't really feel too close to any of his coworkers, which is why he is uncomfortable with sharing his input or offering solutions that the company needs or something like that. But perhaps again, that could be seen as a problem, but it could also be seen as John simply respecting his own needs.
I think it makes him, it would eventually make him unapproachable, and like people can really talk to him to help make the peace that he's been making in the team. Yeah, it's always a peace.
Okay, guys, you heard from them. And then according to Tony, he says it's just more of a boundary thing. And then for Bridget, she believes it's more of an emotional wars. Now let's take the next story and let's see what they have to say about that one too. And that's how it goes. After a painful breakup 2 years ago, Maya stopped sharing personal details with her close friends. She listens to them, supports them, but whenever they ask about her dating life or emotions, she smiles and changes the story. I'm just focused on work right now, she always says. They've stopped asking. Is Maya setting a healthy boundary to protect her healing? That is for Tony to answer. And or has she built an emotional wall that's keeping her disconnected? That is Bridget's question. And I think a lot of people can relate to this then, actually. It's real, right? Okay, let's see what you guys have to say.
Yeah, I think, again, she's building an emotional wall, which is not, it shouldn't be, it's not a bad thing. Yeah, you don't have to speak on your emotions or talk about your relationship status or whatever is going on in your personal life if you don't want to. So I think she's putting up a wall, and her friends would have to give her some time and see if she would change or not, or if she would be ready to talk about those emotions or not. But then again, I would say if you really don't want to talk about it, sometimes people don't really read in between the lines. Like, oh, you just don't want to talk about it, so you're just changing the subject. But clearly saying that, well, I don't want to talk about it now, or I'm not in a relationship, don't worry. I know you are my friends, you're worried about me. If I start a relationship now, I will let you know, and yeah, I promise to let you know. So I think that would be one of the options to take, rather than being closed off from being disconnected from her friends.
Yeah, I will say that this goes back to what I was saying or what I said in the previous segment about someone having gone through an immense emotional pain, feeling uncomfortable with expressing or opening up about that pain. And so this is what Maya is going through, where even though she's with her close friends, this breakup it had such an impact on her that it has been a struggle for her to open up among her friends, which is, of course, in general, it's good and healthy to express what is bringing pain to you with people that you trust and people that are close to you. On the other hand, it does seem that Maya is in a state that she is not ready. And so by not giving into the pressure that maybe she herself feels, maybe her friends are putting this pressure on her, but it sounds like she's simply feeling this pressure, but she's not giving into the pressure to share when she's not ready to share. It also sounds that she knows that she wish she was ready to share, but since she's not, she's trying to make up for that by being a very supportive with her friends, and perhaps offering that a shoulder to lean on and being a great support for her friends. So in a way to sort of compensate for her being not ready yet to share about her own experience and her own pain.
So what if her friends also want to be there for her and she's only saying she's focused on work now, and maybe they could see that she's not all right, and they also want to be there for her, like offer the shoulder for her to cry on or be listening ears for her and things like that. What if that is what the friends are trying to do? Yeah, so now maybe, I don't know if Maya would have to go back to her friends to say, hey guys, I think I'm ready to talk about it now. I think that would be very difficult for her to do. Like going to your friends to say, the last time you wanted to talk about this and I wasn't ready. So I want to talk about it now. It sounds good saying it right now, but I don't know how, from my own perspective, like if I were in Maya's shoes, I don't think I would be able to go back to my friends to tell them I want to talk about that thing now.
But you guys, don't you think sometimes some friends are just too curious about your life for no reason? They literally want to know every single thing. How do you react to such people?
Well, I would advocate for saying, I understand that you care about me, you want to know this about me, but I'm not ready to talk about it now.
But that makes it a boundary and not an emotional wall.
Well, let me just state my point and I'll respond to yours. So telling them that you don't want to talk about it now, and that you will let them know when you find, or if it's a relationship, they want to know if your relationship status that they want to know about, you tell them you would let them know later on if you have, or if you find someone. I think those people who are always curious about wanting to know what you want, yeah, you have to just go ahead and tell them.
Tell them all about your life because you think they care.
No, not tell them that this and this is what is going on in your life. Like, keeping quiet, yeah, it's going to be a wall, and those friends might not know how to really relate with you anymore, or they won't know when to ask how you are doing. That's just my point of view. It's hard for me to pick sides now because it was so, again, I would have to say it depends on who is asking and the circumstance. Yeah.
Well, I'll say back to what you said about how the more that Maya does not share about her life, the more that her friends will stop asking about it because they're like not getting any feedback from her. And so there'll be this, this rift that forms, or this, not rift, but a chasm that forms, if you will, between her and her friends, because her friends want to know about her personal life. She's not sharing about her personal life. Of course, we know from her perspective that there's this pain there that she's just not ready to express, and that's okay. But from their minds, they want to know about her life because they care about her, they support her, but she's not giving anything back to them. So I can see how tension would follow from that. And I also see how Maya's inability to be direct in expressing a boundary of, I hear what you're saying, I hear what you're asking me to share, I am simply not ready to share. She is not saying that, and that might be the ideal course of action, considering that she is not emotionally ready to open up this baggage, if you will.
Can I come in?
Yeah, sure, just interrupt me. Yeah.
Yeah. So remember, we said something in the beginning that it has to be mutual. There should be a mutualism somewhere. And Maya, in this case, is listening to her friends talk about their life, maybe share a few things about their personal lives, and she offers that support to them. And I think her friends would also want to like do same for her. But in this case, it's not being reciprocated. It's not mutual. So again, that disconnect will come.
Yeah.
You feel like, okay, they are helpless because they don't know how to help Maya.
Yeah. I mean, I would respond to that by saying, I think they are getting what they want from her because she's supporting them. That's certainly what they want. And just, out of the goodness of their own heart and in the interest of, maintaining this friendship that each of them has with Maya, they want to know about her life and maybe, offer their point of view or offer their support, and she's not giving it to them. And that can have an impact. But also, she is doing her best to offer her own support. And I think her friends do appreciate her for that. If anything, they would appreciate her even more if she shared about her own life.
Or said, I don't want to talk about it now.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the crux of the issue, isn't it?
Okay, thank you guys. That was a good discussion over there. Now the floor is open for the two of you. Anything you have to say, you don't have to still stand by wherever you were earlier on. Let's hear from you. Last words about these two stories, and you can even relate with your personal experience. Something probably you had with your friends. You can share it with the viewers.
Well, it's rather unfortunate I had to choose like this side to be like the emotional one, because that is me. I won't talk about it if I don't want to talk about it, and I don't talk a lot, so. No, I'm not going to go like, hey, I don't want to talk about it. I'll just keep quiet. Ask me, and no, I'll just smile at you. It's just me, like Maya there. But it's something I would want to do, like tell because like Annie said, people can be overly curious. Like they just want to know every bit of what is going on in your life.
And they might pressure you to. Maybe they have good intentions, but it still feels like pressure to share when you're not ready.
Yes. So I would want to like establish those boundaries, like keep them there, let them respect it for me, and only allow me to talk when I want to talk about whatever it is they're asking about. But then also they understanding that it's okay for me to say those things that I'm saying, and still it will be okay for them to still ask how I'm doing, like not just disconnect from me.
Yeah.
Well,
it sounds like you should just change your name to Maya.
I'm good with Bridget.
What my thoughts back to the situation with John is that, I certainly care about any relationship that I have, even if it's a professional relationship. So the fact that he seems uncomfortable with confrontation, even though it sounds like it might be all in his mind that like this confrontation won't actually happen, he's just afraid that it'll happen. I definitely feel for him there, but I think ideally John would reach back out and offer his input, because at the end of the day, like all of his coworkers are asking for his input, so they clearly value him in that sense, and they clearly like him enough to ask him for what he has to say. So I think that John should maybe get that hint that maybe people in his workplace actually like him and value him, and have a bigger voice in the group.
All right, thank you guys. That was an interesting one. I think it's something very good to reflect on. And sometimes these issues normally come up or pop up among friends. I feel sometimes what people miss is the fact that they grew up with you, like you've been friends for a very long time, and they forget that
things do change, people do change, you know, our interests do change, our opinions do change. So you have to learn to respect the fact that things do change, and their decision right now is going to be different from what they used to believe in yesterday. So you can't force them to always go along with whatever you like looking out for. So a no should be a no, a yes to be should be a yes, and that shouldn't affect your friendship. Thank you. This was the end of the section 2. We are just going to take the final part. Let's dive into it right now, guys. Let's go. Come.
All right, so this is the final part, and it's just going to be a little brief chit chat here. And we just want to know you guys, your opinion. You've said so much about the art of saying no, whether in a fun way or an interesting way, whatever way you put it. This is the part to give us the theoretical meaning of what it means to set boundaries. Okay, and how it meant to you previously, you know, growing up, and then what it means right now to set boundaries, and then the difference between, you know, setting a boundary and just being overly emotional about it or being rude. What does that mean to you? Who want to start with that?
I can start with that. In my personal life, I've never been someone who like necessarily cares too much about boundaries because I've always been pretty open with people. I've always felt pretty comfortable opening up about my own life and just sort of being me, I guess. And I've never really felt an undue pressure to express something about my personal life. But obviously, I also know that, you know, boundaries are a big deal, and the way to express boundaries is a big deal, because the way that someone receives a boundary is important, because you want, as the person who is setting the boundary, you want the other person to respect the boundary. So what my mind goes to in my own life is at work, in the workplace, and how to set proper boundaries with people, and how to respect the boundaries that people set for you to respect. And I think all of that, the way to just make all of that easier is to be like, just have be kind to one another, and have that emotional intelligence to know when you're maybe crossing a line, in order so that maybe the other person doesn't even need to set the boundary, because you already have an understanding of what a reasonable person, a boundary that a reasonable person would set for a particular thing. Maybe you're trying to ask about their like life outside of work. Maybe they're sharing a little bit. Maybe you want to know more, but maybe that's all they want to share. If you're not picking up on that, that can really create some tension in the workplace, and that becomes your responsibility to resolve that tension.
Well, I think I could pick a little bit on what you're saying, because I noticed a bit, you know, for some of us, where we are coming from, it's more of like a community kind of world. So everybody is so much interested in what is happening to you. Not necessarily because they care. Well, it's meant to be. The reason should be that because they care, but they just want to know, like, they feel you are part of us, so they have to know what is going on in your life, whether they're able to help or not. And sometimes you feel a little bit helpless whether you're supposed to just go out there. So, but I'll just leave it with you, to you, Bridget. What do you also have to say?
Yeah, I would take it from where you left off, because yeah, where we are coming from, it's usually a community, and it's like it takes a village to raise you. So the people want to know what you're up to, what's your plans, just how you are doing, which is sometimes okay, or in that situation or in that environment sounds okay, or sounds okay to those who are asking, but it's not necessarily, it might not be necessarily fine with who is on the receiving end of those questions. So now at this time, I understand that it's not everything that I need to share with people. So trying not to share, or trying to be nice about not wanting to share something that people would otherwise think it's normal, like you could just talk about it. it's I think that is what I'm leaning towards, because you shouldn't be pressured into saying things you don't want to say, and also setting those boundaries. It also comes down to the other person having that emotional intelligence that you mentioned, to understand that, okay, maybe I'm quiet about this because I don't want to talk about it. So that person having that emotional intelligence would get that key or get that memo and try to go along with it, and not trying to pressure me or the other person into talking about it. Yeah.
That is interesting. Did you have something to say?
Yeah. So you were saying there's a social expectation to be open about your life.
Mhm.
And so when it comes to maybe not wanting to be so open, that can be such a difficult thing to express because there's this pressure that you feel to be open. And so then the issue becomes, how can I express this boundary that I have without like violating the social contract or violating the social expectation? And that's a very tricky thing. That's not an easy
So
question to answer.
people then choose to put up the wall that we've been talking about. Yeah, because if I'm quiet about it, then yeah, you wouldn't keep asking me, and I don't want to offend people
Yeah.
by saying I won't talk about it, because culturally there are certain things you say and people would take it as a form of disrespect or
Yeah.
rudeness. So instead of whilst trying to prevent that, or prevent people from thinking that you are being disrespectful, you choose to cut people off, put
Yeah.
up that wall. And I think it's something that we should try to break. Like, we shouldn't always want to please people. Sometimes you are not being selfish,
Right.
by saying, let me go back to saying no. Yeah, by saying no, it's not, you are not being selfish. It has to start from somewhere. Setting those boundaries have to start from somewhere. For those of us who are not used to like stating our boundaries, or although we have it, but having our boundaries being crossed or broken or disrespected. So it has to start with me. It has to start with me, Annie, or you, if you are in that situation. Like, say it, but then still find a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does seem that, right, in the mind of the person who's setting the boundary and maybe going against social expectation, they're just trying to preserve themselves. They're not ready to share. Maybe they just don't want to share, and that's okay. The issue comes in the mind of the other person. They see it as an attack, or they see it as a form of disrespect. So then the question becomes, how do you bridge that difference in understanding?
Yeah. So, like, I'm just gonna pick up from the last statement you made. How do you do it? And that brings us to the question, which says, how will you give a frame and no answer without sounding like you're slacking or being rude, which is similar to like creating a boundary, right? But without making it sound like so rude, or make people think you're trying to disconnect yourself from them. How do you do it? How do you go about it? I'll give a typical example. Okay, so for example, I've been helping a lot of people with applications, right? And then I notice my time is getting busier and busier every time, and people keep on coming and asking for help, and I've always been saying yes. So there's this one particular person, I'm always doing this for him, and then he's always bringing new application. Please do this for me. Please do this, and they will literally want you to pick up their call anytime, whether you are sleeping. Even at 3 a.m., they'll call you. I'm like, I don't have that time anymore.
Yeah.
And then I'm about starting my clinicals. Looking at my schedule, I know it's going to be very busy. So I told myself from August almost, there's no way I'm doing any application for anyone. So this person comes again, and then he's like, oh, can you help me? I found this application. Can you help me fill this? And saying you should help him, it's not like you are going to tell him to do this and he will do it. He's asking you to do everything, create a portal, like edit essays, like a whole lot of stuff. So nicely, I just go like, oh, unfortunately, my time is like so packed right now. I don't think I can add anything on, and I can do this for you. But what I can do right now is connect you to another friend of mine who may be able to help you, like assist you. So I connected the two of them, shared the contact, and then hopefully he, reaches out to him. But his response was kind of like straightforward, which made me read it like he didn't really like my answer. But I felt I did my part. Yeah. So what do you have to say? How do you frame a no answer? That is the question now.
Like that, like how you framed it.
Yes. Before I go into that, no matter what, I think no matter what you say, if it's not in the favor of the person asking, it's sometimes going to be, it's sometimes not going to be taken like cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, someone might find it offensive. So coming back to what I would say, I don't go out too often.
Not when you're with me.
Yeah, since I've been in California, I've been going out every day.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't go out often. I try to find excuses for not wanting to go out. And sometimes I will want to like impress my friends. But then I feel it's weighing down on me because it drains me a lot.
Yeah.
Going out and being among people that I don't feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
It drains on me, like it drains my energy. So
like a
then,
battery.
Yeah. So I mostly what I do is I tell them, okay, well, I would love to go for this thing, but there is this deadline I have to meet. Sometimes, I mean, it's not good to lie though, but yeah, sometimes
Now you're telling
like,
the world you do.
well, the work needs to be done. Yeah. So I would say, yeah, I have this thing. Yeah, I have this thing to do. So, and it's due. Sometimes, yes, truly, they are due at midnight.
Right.
So I need to stay in. I haven't gotten anywhere. I have a lot still to work on before the deadline. So I'm sorry, I won't be able to go. Maybe next time, let me know if there's any other outing or something. Yes. So I tell them like that, and they take it. I honestly, I don't go thinking, are they okay with my answer or not? No, I guess just tell them, and then we move. Next time they ask me again, and if I feel like going, I go. If I don't, I still let them know that I can.
And then if there are times where you maybe don't have something, you don't have a deadline to meet, you just don't want to go, you may feel weird about just saying no without like coming up with a quote unquote valid excuse.
Yeah, there have been times, honestly, I didn't give them any excuse. I just told them, I'll have to go, but not today.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not today.
Well, what would be great is if maybe your friends tried to meet you halfway and maybe do something as opposed to we're going out, join us, or maybe they can respect your what you seem to be comfortable with, which is staying in. Let's do something in.
Yeah,
that also makes sense. If they want to go out with you and then you can, one day they also consider the fact that you want to probably have some time indoors.
Yeah.
That also makes sense.
Maybe a nice, enjoy a lunch, like a potluck. Everyone brings their own food.
Or movie nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blankets.
Bring
popcorn.
blankets.
Yeah.
Okay. If we leave this guy to keep on with all his statements, he would never end, I guess.
That's right.
All right. So some people actually gave us some comments on things when it comes to saying no. I'm just going to read those 3 major comments out and tell us what you think about it in the comment section. So the first one says, saying no makes you unlikable. I think somehow it's true. People don't like it when you say no. It's very common, but should people define you? No, you define yourself. So don't worry about what people
say
say. It says say no makes you unlikable.
Right, say no.
No.
I don't like that.
Like I care. Simple. Yeah. No, the whole thing is you know what you want, right? You know yourself more. So you don't let people dictate your life for you all the time. Simple as a
Yeah, they'll keep saying, oh, she's always saying no. Like he's always saying no. Well,
at the end of the day, when you are drained or tired, they are not there to help you regain your energy. You have to work on yourself. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be.
No, she was looking at me like, yeah, right, Tony?
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is like, hopefully, right in that scenario where you say no because right you're feeling drained, your friends may take that as like, what's going on? Why don't you want to do things with us? They can also respect that no and try to maybe, or that's a way to like maintain the friendship from their point of view is let's respect this person's no, and also maybe let's figure out ways that we can hang out as a friend group together
Yeah.
where this person would want to say yes.
So viewers, we are not saying always your answer should be no. That is not what we are saying. If it's
No.
always a no, it means there is a problem, and that one they have every right to investigate what is going. That's why you are their friend. If you are not their friend, if you're not my friend, why would I bother you? I wouldn't.
Right.
No. So sometimes your answer should be yes, but if it's a like true no, it should be a no. That's what we are saying. Okay, and then the next one, the person says, if you set boundaries, people will leave. Is that the right people? Will they
Yeah,
leave?
the right people,
Exactly.
those who care about wanting you in their life, those who want you in their life won't leave you for certain boundaries. I think they would rather take it as, okay, this person really wants me in life. That's why they are telling me this and this are what work for me.
Yeah.
So I think I'll take that in good faith. Although, yeah, people.
I
might
know
think
it's
so.
hard. It's hard to say. It's easier said than done to, receive someone's boundary in like a positive way, in good faith, because I can imagine a scenario where someone has a more anxious attachment style, where they're like very alert, they're like very vigilant of when maybe a friend appears to be leaving them or not putting as much effort into a relationship as they would like this friend to put in. So when the friend sets a boundary, again, in the friend's mind, it's a healthy boundary because they're feeling drained. They may just not want to go do this thing that you want to do. But then in the mind of the person that maybe has an anxious attachment style, that's when they get worried that this friend is going to no longer be their friend very soon. So then that may compel them to sort of go down the path of like reaching out even more intensely, or reaching out for that sort of validation even more intensely, which of course crosses the boundary of the friend who made the boundary in the first place, which then reinforces the person to reach out for validation even more intensely. And unfortunately, that's one of those like spiral. That's a situation that can spiral into a breakup of a friendship.
I think sometimes those things happen. Like the person who is anxiously attached to someone.
Yeah.
I think mostly when the other person closes off, like builds the wall,
Right.
instead of like maybe nicely communicating their boundaries,
Mm.
that is going to increase the person's anxiety,
Yeah.
because he or she could be thinking, what did I do wrong to this person? Because the other person is not saying, okay, you did this and this to me, and that's why I don't want to talk to you, or that's why I don't want to associate with you for the time being. So I think if the walls are up there, instead of like saying, hey, this is what I want in a nice way, it is going to increase like that intense asking, hey, or wanting to like know, or wanting to know what is going on with you. Yeah. So finding a nice way of saying.
Yeah. I've come to the understanding that the best way to express a boundary is direct and with grace.
Yeah, with grace.
Like don't be straightforward,
but
with grace.
With grace.
Can you demonstrate that?
No. Yeah. So right, the way that you expressed, or the way that you set that boundary with your coworker who was asking you to do these applications, knowing that your schedule was about to get a whole lot busier, you set the boundary of, I am not in a position to work on these applications all the time, or at all. That being said, the word choice that you used, the tone of your words was graceful, And then you also provided an alternate solution of, I know this other person who can help you.
That makes sense.
Mm.
All right, let's not drag this into my. I know there's a lot to say when it comes to setting boundaries, but we have to move on due to time. The last one says it's easier to just give in than argue. In fact, I think I'm tired of arguing with people. If I realize you're in for an argument, I just like, okay, have your way.
Yeah, I'd rather not argue with you now.
Yeah, I just go silent on you, and then you have your way, then you go.
Right.
After all, it adds no value to my life, so why do I still argue with you? But anyway, let's hear what you guys have to say about it.
Yeah, I agree with that statement that it's easier to give in, like say yes. That maybe that's what the statement is saying. It's easy to say yes than trying to argue your point. Like, yeah, I honestly I'll go for giving in. Which down I
It
don't
depends on
want
the
to.
circumstance. If it's a no, I won't give in easily. That is, if I have to act something out that I'm not supposed, I don't want to, there's no way I'm going to do it. If you like argue with me, I'll just keep quiet for you to do your argument, but I'm still not going to do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
What did
I think it is certainly easier to give in the moment, because having to stand your ground in the position that you hold and argue back takes more effort in the moment than simply just saying okay or yes. That being said, it may not be healthier to give in. So that's the ultimate question of, should I give in, or should I argue what is best for me in the long run, or simply what is easier for me? And so the path that you choose, if you're comfortable with the path that you choose, then you should be content with the outcome of that path.
Yeah, I think giving in will also be like, okay, is this something I could do? Would it affect me that much? If not, yes, it would be very, very easy to give in. But then if it would be at my own expense or my own time, would have to try to argue it. Maybe not really argue, like just tell them what it is. And it's either if they accept it, fine. If they don't accept it, well, there's nothing you can do about
Just
it.
go to hell.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, accept it or go to hell. No, that's not what we mean here. Viewers, no. All right, so we're good to go now, right? Thank you, guys. It was such an amazing conversation with the two of you. And then don't forget,
Of course, don't forget, this is the spot where we give you the authentic vibes only, the unfiltered minds. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. There's always something new in the pipeline. So watch out for more, and I'll see you another time. For now, it's that. Bye.